Welcome. This podcast is a series of candid conversations exploring the human experience from a completely new perspective. In it, we will be diving deeply into the meaning of commonly used words and pointing you away from that old stressful way of looking at life and towards a new paradigm. This will help you find a sense of calm, cultivate meaningful relationships, and create harmony in every aspect of your life. Here is Navigating Life with Ease with Michaela, Ellis and Clare Downham.
Hello.
Hey, Claire.
Hi, how are you?
Well, very well. How are you?
Good, yeah. I'm by the sea today, so it's lovely. I like to be near the sea.
Yeah. There's something healing or soothing about being near the water, hey? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. So have you got a word for us to explore today?
I do indeed. Let's explore truth.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind about that is I've got a thing about it. Like I unfortunately, in my previous very long-term relationship, my first marriage, my ex-husband had a rather loose relationship with the truth, and would often, like almost on a daily basis, about the silliest things, he would lie to me. So I know I have a lot of thinking about that as a thing, how important it is. So if I get a little sniff that I think somebody's not telling the truth, I can find myself going into that story, of not okay, you shouldn't lie. But I've noticed my perspective. I still a value, I would say, that I hold quite dearly, but I've noticed it changing. That I see so much more that people are always doing the best they can. They're always doing what makes sense to them. They're, understanding that with from a place of compassion, that if somebody isn't, telling the truth or being truthful, they really are. Yeah, they're doing what makes sense to them in the moment in an attempt to stay safe, or it doesn't really matter why they're doing it, but they really do not have anything else. So on a kind of life day-to-day basis, that's something around it. But the other thing is, and maybe a more deeper question, which is, well, what the heck is what is true? Like, what really is true? Is it even true that there's a me and a you sat in two different countries having a conversation? Is it true that there's a sea or there's a thing called water? But even that, is that true? Because that's just a word as well that we've assigned to this thing that's outside my window that we now call the sea. This particular sea we call the North Sea, and it's got waves on it, but that's just water moving. It's all just stuff that we've made up. Understandably, because it'd be a bit difficult doing life if I was trying to tell you what was outside my window and I couldn't wrap some words around it. We'd all be very, very confused, wouldn't we? So we need that. We need the words. We need the concepts. But how much do those words and concepts that are not true get in our way, get in the way of our peace of mind? Not calling the sea. Like, I think that's just quite practical and helpful, really. I'm not going to rally against that too much, but the story of me and the story of everybody else and the story of where we belong and what we should do and what's good behavior and what's bad behavior and who am I and am I okay and all of that. How much of that is true? Well, I would say none of it, to be fair. So what is true? Maybe that nothing. that we can actually see or articulate or really experience. People talk about their truth, don't they? Like, but that's really cool, because that, yeah, what they're saying is, well, I've got my set of stuff that I think is right. And I wonder how much being right and truth seem to be interlinked in our heads. But what is actually true? Who knows?
I know. I know.
Over to you then.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of see that. We can only have a sense of what is true for us. Right? That it all comes down to our own personal, no, not personal perspective, personal feeling. So yeah, you had, spoken to the what we think, and then what is kind of really true, or what we believe, or what we, stand behind, or claim as what is true for me. So if we're looking at values or whatever. And I see it really as a feeling, that the only way to discern what we might call truth, which is another made up word, is a feeling. It's kind of, I know you use Canva, but, we can talk about plumb lines or that kind of thing. But when there's a line, there's crosshairs, right? Or there's a line, and you move your image around, and then the line goes solid when it's centered, and it's like true. I know when people are building things, they call like looking for the true line, when things are kind of lined up, and it's like that, and it's sort of fine. It's like, oh, move this way. Nope, 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 up. And then it's like, and there's like a feeling inside of, this. I know if you've ever spoken something before, I process a lot when I talk. I talk process. And there'll be words that are coming out of my mouth, and it's coming from my head when I'm having something that's, I know it's off, and I need to talk about it, and things come out, and it's like, yeah, off, and then it's like, oh yeah, it's not that, it's this. It's almost like a sifting, sorting that happens, and then all of a sudden there's this, it's like the true line, the plumb line is already inside of me. And then it's like, oh yeah, it's not that. This. It's almost like sorting through a laundry load of socks. And they're all gray, and one has, a little bit at the top, and there's like, you got to find the wear, so you're looking for things that match. And the truth is like, it's like that wisdom that is always present. It's like, that's sort of the truth. That's the center. And everything that we encounter in our life from the inside, it's like we're looking for that home. We're looking for that, the match, or the alignment, And there is a very relaxing feeling to that when you find it. It's like, satisfying. It's very satisfying. Feels right.
What do you see as the process or the way in which people know? Because it's really obvious on Canva, isn't it? Big bold line shows up. And I have to say, that question of, is this my wisdom? That's such a common question that people ask, isn't it? Is how do I know if it's wisdom? Because, some things felt like wisdom and then they turned out to be a bit of a mess. And, because I followed what I thought was my wisdom. And how do I know that? Like, how do people, what can we share with people to help them to see that? How do we see that? I think there's just one thing I kind of have said before, which is, how if there's a field of sheep and babe and lambs, that they can be all spread out, and then as you approach, the mother and the baby start barring at each other, and they find each other, even though that's loads. Same with penguins, isn't it? They can kind of find their partner and their egg in a sea of what look to us to be all exactly identical penguins. And maybe it's something you just get to know for yourself by spending time getting curious about it, I guess.
Yeah.
And I find it, I sometimes get a little bit amused by these things that say, come on this course to learn how to find your intuition or find your own wisdom. And I just, surely not. Surely that's not where we're pointing, is it? That there's something to do to get there.
I do see that there's something to do, but it's not anything more than noticing what's already happening in your life. Noticing when something feels right. When you just know that this is what is to do or to say or whatever's on the table as something you need to do in your life. I kind of see that the only way to get a sense of that is to start being present to it, is to practice it, because it's happening. There are times where we are in line, we are in our truth, and there's a feeling to it, and you just do it. But we often will overlook those things because it was so easy. What do we give our attention to? The things that are hard, the things that are struggly, the things that are, the things that we have a lot of thinking about, that we make into something that it really isn't. But those times, so when things are going fairly smoothly, there's a feeling to that. And it feels better than when we're struggling with something, than when we're really thinking about it. So we just miss it. We miss it. So it's almost like noticing how good you feel, as well as noticing when it doesn't feel so good. That you'll get to know then. I don't know why this has come up, but I'm going to share it. It might sound weird. Anyone who's cooked meat and on a barbecue. There's a little guide, and you can use your hand, that different parts of your hand, like, I think this is well done, and there's something, there's different, if you feel that part of your hand and you feel your steak, let's say, and it's that kind of, it's like, oh, that's well done, that's medium rare, that's that. It's a feeling, but you don't, so a hand is a really great example of how to discern that. It's kind of the same, although it's nothing you're going to put your finger on. It's a feeling that's coming from inside that, yeah, there's just a sense of knowing, and it's like a no-brainer. It's like a no-brainer. And I'll just add one more thing about discerning, is that when something a thought comes up into the mind, and there's a feeling of good or rightness or whatever, nothing triggering, so that feels good. Then with added thinking, it becomes something that no longer feels good. I don't know how, I don't know what to do. Are you sure? I've never done that before. I don't know, maybe I need to talk to someone else. And then we bring someone else's thinking and grab onto it and throw it on the pile too. And before we know it, that initial thought that came up, that actually came from wisdom, because there was a good feeling to it, that's where I find that people get really confused. And so I invite, and it does kind of require a little bit of a slowing down and a noticing. And I invite them to, like, what was the initial thought? Do you remember? So I know those that I've worked with who it's like, they'll go back. It's like, right, what was the initial thought? It didn't happen immediately, but they started to just take time. They were interested to experience it differently. So they took time to, like, notice when a thought, an idea, when it felt good, if it ever did, because the ones that come from here, they might not ever, or they might. Anyway, how about you? What would you say?
So what you've just shared there about the initial feeling coming with that kind of special knowing to it, and then the thinking coming in and trying to keep us safe, really, isn't it, from something that it perceives is going to be a disaster, like we're going to put ourselves in a position where we're going to look stupid, or whatever other stories we might have. I think that stops people a lot, like causes, I guess, this thing we might call lack of motivation in inverted commas, because obviously that's not a real thing either, or procrastination, or just not moving forward in life. And really avoiding the thing that could be the thing that's that they're meant to put into the world, or they're meant to create, or they're meant to do next, really. And it doesn't even have to be anything massive. It can just be the next step. And I would say that that's the other thing that I would say about the truth, or the wisdom. It is going to be in the present moment. It is going to be the next step. People say, oh, my wisdom told me that in 3 weeks' time, such and such is happened. Nah, it didn't do that. I don't think it can guide us from way in the future. It isn't one of those things that I think is, truth can only be in the present moment, can't it? Because none of the rest of it's true at all, the past and the future. And that's something to notice, I think, if we're looking towards navigating life from that place is, you know, if it's got a heaviness around the future or the past, then it's you know, it won't come with that nice feeling we're talking about, will it? And it definitely won't be truth. It really is just the next step. Something you can do right now, something that you can create right now, something that you can put into the world of form right now. Like energy that wants to come to life right now.
Mm.
Something that wants to move from the formless to the form. But it's all about now, isn't it? Not sometime in the future. So I think that can ease some of the confusion between truth and not, because it's about the present moment.
Yeah. I want to bring something to the table because I've done this before, where in talking about that there's only the moment. And you're right. This is all we got. This is all we got. But even I've done this before, where I've sat with a calendar and looked at a number of dates that I knew I could do something. I could schedule something. And there was some, it was almost like there was a repelling, there was a number of possible times. And there was some that almost receded, like, no, don't pick me. And then there was one that came up, and it was kind of an it was an odd day. And it's just like, okay, but there was a feeling to scheduling this thing on that day. I did it. It worked out. So I think there's a lot, of course, of life that can happen in between the moment of now and the fiction of a moment in the future. But there is, or I've experienced anyways, where there's, even with something, because that's how we function in this world. We make appointments, we make meetings. That's how we were able to meet and find this time that we get together each week to do it, and it was, at first it was just like something felt good and it fit. And so, yes, we can only go with what we feel in the moment. Even about something like Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain Time that we get together to do this, right?
And I guess it's the scheduling itself that's happening in the present moment, isn't it? And like you said, between the scheduling and the happening, anything could happen. As is the nature of life.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Love it.
That's been lovely. It's been lovely.
Yeah. For me too. Thank you.
I've found that helpful too. And we'll see you all again next time. Thank you, Michaela.
Yes. Thanks, Claire. Ciao.
Bye.
Hey, thank you for being a part of Navigating Life with Ease. We'd love to hear your feedback and receive a review on your favorite podcast platform. That'd be great. This will help others who'd also like more ease in their life to find us. You truly matter to us, and we're here to support you. So if you've any words you'd like us to explore, or you have a question, please reach out to us at Clare at claredownham.com or Michaela at simpleselfconnection.com. Again, thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more episodes of Navigating Life with Ease.